I'm sitting here right now, typing this, and downstairs, my not wedding reception is happening. It's wild. Absolutely surreal. Today was supposed to be it, our wedding day. Months and months of planning, deposits paid that would make your eyes water, family flown in from all over, the whole 9 yards. Beatrice, my fiancée, well, ex-fiancée now, I guess, and I were supposed to be saying I do about 6 hours ago. And then 5 minutes before I was supposed to walk out, standing there in my tux, a mess of nerves and excitement, my phone buzzed. It was Beatrice. My heart did a little flip, thinking it was some cute, loving pre-wedding message. It wasn't. Before I tell you exactly what that text said, and how it led to the craziest, most expensive, dodged-a-bullet party you can imagine, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. You won't believe the stories of betrayal and justice we share here. The text message. Just a few words that detonated my entire world. It read, "Alistair, I'm so sorry. I can't do this. I reject you." That was it. I reject you. Like we were in some kind of medieval royal drama, not minutes away from becoming husband and wife. I just stared at the screen, my mind struggling to process the words. Read it again. And again. The room, the world, just sort of tilted, rejected. 5 minutes before go time. My first thought, strangely enough, was pure practicality. All these people waiting downstairs, the beautiful venue booked for the entire evening, the open bar, the caterers already plating appetizers. My best man Hugh saw the look on my face and rushed over, his own expression etched with worry. "Alistair, you okay, man? It's time to go." I didn't say anything. I just showed him the phone. His jaw dropped. "No. Freaking way," he whispered, his eyes wide with disbelief. And in that moment, something inside me just clicked. It shifted. The initial shockwave of pain, that massive boulder of hurt that landed squarely in my gut, it was still there. Don't get me wrong. But on the surface, smooth as ice, a weird, cold calm settled over me. I found the officiant, a kindly older gentleman who was starting to look confused by the delay. "Slight change of plans," I said, my voice steady. Too steady, maybe. And then I walked out, alone. I stood there, right where Beatrice and I were supposed to stand together, exchanging vows. The guests looked puzzled at first, seeing me up there by myself. Then, a ripple of concern, confused whispers spreading through the room like wildfire. I took the mic from the stand, cleared my throat. The room fell silent, every eye on me. "Welcome, everyone," I started, my voice echoing slightly in the sudden hush. "There's been a development." I let that hang in the air for a beat. I looked around at the sea of faces. My family, her family, our friends, people who had traveled, spent money, taken time off work to be here for us. For this. "About 5 minutes ago," I continued, "I received a text message from Beatrice." I paused again, meeting the eyes of my mom, who looked like she was about to faint. Then Beatrice's parents, who just looked utterly bewildered. It said, and I raised my voice just enough to ensure everyone could hear, and I quote, "Alistair, I'm so sorry. I can't do this. I reject you." A collective gasp rippled through the room. I heard a couple of horrified, muffled cries from Beatrice's side of the aisle. "So," I said, keeping my voice as even and controlled as I possibly could, "it appears there will be no wedding today. Beatrice has made her choice." Another pause. Let that sink in. The weight of it. The sheer, brutal finality. However, and here I did raise my voice slightly, injecting a different kind of energy into the room. Everything is paid for. The bar is open, the food is ready, and the band is here, ready to play. I looked around, trying to convey a strength I wasn't sure I possessed. So tonight isn't a wedding reception. Tonight, I declared, is a celebration. A few confused murmurs. A celebration of honesty, even when it's brutal and last minute. A celebration, I met Hugh's eyes, of dodging a bullet. And a celebration of the love and support from all of you, our friends and family, who are here today. I reached for my water glass. I didn't trust myself with champagne just yet. "So please," I implored them. Eat, drink, enjoy yourselves. Let's have a party anyway. To dodging bullets. Absolute stunned silence for about 5 agonizing seconds. Then, Hugh started clapping, loudly. My family, bless them, joined in slowly, hesitantly at first, then with more conviction. Others followed suit. A smattering of applause turned into a wave. It was surreal. Some of Beatrice's family, her parents and her sister Florence in particular, looked horrified, angry even. They practically ran out of the room. A few other guests, mostly from her side, awkwardly made their excuses and scurried away. Maybe about 30% of the people peeled off pretty quickly. But the rest? The rest stayed. And downstairs, right now, as I sit up here in what was supposed to be our bridal suite, trying to make sense of it all, there's a party happening. Sort of. The most expensive, awkward, dodged a bullet gathering ever. The mood for the first few hours was bizarre, to put it mildly. The band, to their credit, started playing something upbeat, but it felt jarring against the backdrop of shell-shocked faces and hushed, urgent conversations. People were drinking. A lot. Some were trying to dance. A strange, almost manic energy to their movements. Others just stood in clumps, looking bewildered or whispering intensely. My dad gave me a hug that I thought might actually break my ribs. "Her loss, son," he whispered fiercely in my ear. Her huge, massive loss. It took a long, long time for anything resembling a genuine celebration vibe to emerge. It was mostly fueled by my closest friends, who were absolute legends, rallying around me, keeping my spirits up, deflecting awkward questions. And the open bar. Definitely the open bar. And maybe just a touch of sheer collective disbelief. I came upstairs a while ago, needing a moment, needing to breathe, trying to process the sheer scale of the financial devastation. God, the cost, the venue, the catering for 150 people, the flowers, the attire, the ridiculously expensive, non-refundable, prepaid honeymoon package to the Maldives, easily upwards of $60,000. $60,000 sunk into this day, mostly by me and my parents. Gone. Poof. Just like Beatrice. I haven't heard a single peep from her since that text. No calls, no further explanations, nothing. How she even physically got from the bridal suite, presumably in the middle of getting her hair and makeup done, to wherever her escape plan or her escape man was waiting, I have no idea. And honestly, in this exact moment, a weird part of me doesn't even care. It doesn't matter now. That text was the kill shot. It ended everything. So yeah, that's where I am. Hosting the world's most expensive, emotionally charged, and profoundly awkward dodged a bullet gathering. Send booze. Or maybe just a lot of coffee. I don't even know anymore. It's been a week since that text, since Rejection Day or Dodged a Bullet Day, as it's now been morbidly dubbed by my friends. And honestly, Reddit, thank you. Reading through all your comments and messages over the last few days, it seriously helped. Just knowing I wasn't alone in my disbelief, that strangers out there understood the sheer insanity of it all, it was grounding. So that party, or gathering, as I initially called it, it actually, against all odds, turned into something memorable. In a very strange, very unexpected way. After the initial shock and profound awkwardness wore off, the people who stayed, and a surprising number did, really leaned into the dodging a bullet theme. My friends, Hugh in particular, were absolute rock stars. They kept me surrounded, made sure I wasn't just left to wallow in the wreckage of my almost marriage. There were a lot of toasts. Some of them were supportive and kind. Others were significantly angrier, more of the good riddance to bad rubbish variety. It ended up being a massive release, I think, for everyone. Weirdly cathartic by the end of the night. The music got louder, people actually started dancing for real, and for a few hours, we managed to reclaim something from the ashes of Beatrice's betrayal. The cleanup, both literal and emotional, over the next few days was significantly less fun. Dealing with the vendors, trying to explain why the bride, wasn't actually present for her own wedding, it was mortifying. Most of them were surprisingly sympathetic, especially once the story started to get around. Small town effect, I guess. News like this travels fast. Still, we're out that sickening amount of non-refundable cash. 60 grand. Just gone. We're trying to return gifts where possible, especially anything that came from her side of the family. Anything else? We'll probably end up donating it. Oh, and that luxurious honeymoon suite at the hotel, the one we were supposed to spend our first night as a married couple in? Yeah, I slept in it, alone. That was grim. Let me tell you, staring at a swan made of towels for two by yourself after your fiancé bails minutes before the wedding, not recommended for mental well-being. Now for the update you're probably actually waiting for, Beatrice. For the first 72 hours after that text, there was absolute, complete silence. Radio silence. Zero contact. Nothing. I almost started to think I'd imagined the whole thing. Then, on Tuesday night, 3 full days later, my phone absolutely blew up. A barrage of missed calls. Voicemails choked with sobs. Frantic, desperate texts. Alistair, I made a mistake. A terrible, terrible mistake. We need to talk. Please. It wasn't what it looked like, I swear. And the kicker. Please, Alistair. I love you. Yeah, right. So it turns out her grand escape plan, her dramatic ride off into the sunset, didn't quite pan out the way she'd envisioned. I started piecing it together from a couple of mutual acquaintances, people who were horrified on my behalf and felt I deserved to know the truth. Apparently, Beatrice wasn't just getting cold feet. Oh no. She was actively leaving me for someone else. A guy named Rupert. Older, apparently. Flashy car, a silver tongue, promised her the world. The whole cliché. The plan, as far as I can gather, was this. She ditches the wedding at the very last second, causing maximum chaos and humiliation for me, meets up with Rupert, and they drive off into the sunset to start some amazing new life he supposedly had all set up for them. Except, plot twist, Rupert's flash, his promises, his amazing new life, all smoke and mirrors. Turns out, the amazing new life largely involved him expecting Beatrice. To bankroll things once her rich husband, that would be me, folks, was officially secured and presumably paying out hefty sums in guilt money or alimony or whatever twisted fantasy they'd cooked up. When it became glaringly, unavoidably clear that there was no rich husband, no lavish future funded by my broken heart, only an abruptly canceled wedding and a very, very pissed off groom who was now out 60 grand, Rupert reportedly lost interest. Fast. According to one particularly juicy source, he ditched her at a gas station, somewhere in the vicinity of 3 states away, by Wednesday morning, stranded, alone, brutal. And if I'm being honest, a tiny, dark part of me felt a sliver of grim satisfaction. So now the desperate calls to me, her safety net, her backup plan. I actually answered one yesterday. Morbid curiosity, maybe. Or maybe I just needed to hear it from her. Alistair? Oh, thank God! Sobbing, hysterical, utterly broken. I just said her name, my voice flat. Beatrice? Alistair, I messed up so bad. I wasn't thinking clearly. It was the stress, the pressure of the wedding. Rupert. He meant nothing. He manipulated me. Please, Alistair, we can fix this. We can just reschedule the wedding. We can tell people I had a panic attack, a momentary lapse. The sheer, breathtaking audacity, the unmitigated entitlement, thinking she could just detonate my life, humiliate me in front of everyone I know, run off with another man, and then, when that blew up in her face, just slot herself back in like nothing happened. Beatrice, I said, my voice level, calm, a stark contrast to her hysterics. You texted me minutes before our wedding was supposed to start. You wrote, and I quote, I reject you. You had a bag packed and a guy waiting for you. There is nothing to fix, Beatrice. We are done. No, Alistair, don't say that. More sobbing, more pleading. It was a mistake. I love you. I only love you. Your actions say otherwise, Beatrice, I replied, feeling nothing but a cold, hard certainty. You made your choice when you sent that text, when you walked out on our life. Rupert didn't work out. Your fantasy life imploded, so now you want your safety net back. The answer is no. But where will I go? The panic in her voice was real now. The full weight of her consequences was finally landing. What will I do? That, I said, and I won't lie, there was a certain satisfaction in these words. Sounds like a you problem, Beatrice. Not mine. Not anymore. And then I hung up. And I blocked her number. It felt definitive. Good. Then, of course, came her sister, Florence. She called me later that day, absolutely spitting fire. Alistair, how dare you humiliate her like that? Announcing her private text message to everyone, turning our family's pain into some kind of joke party. She made a mistake. She was stressed. You should have been more understanding. I just sighed, already so tired of this narrative. Florence, I said, trying to keep my patience, your sister texted me, I reject you, minutes before we were supposed to be married, so she could run off with another man who then promptly dumped her at a gas station. Announcing her exact words was transparency, not humiliation. The party happened because everything was paid for, and I refused to let her destroy absolutely everything. She blew this up, Florence, not me. You should have protected her, Florence shrieked. You should have forgiven her immediately. That's what a good man would do. Forgive her for meticulously planning to ditch me at the altar for someone else? I countered, my voice rising despite myself. Protect her from the direct consequences of her own spectacularly bad actions? Are you actually hearing yourself right now? She needs help, Alistair. You have to help her. Where is she supposed to live? You threw all her stuff out. Correction. She had moved most of her essential stuff into my place about a month before the wedding, in anticipation. It was now neatly packed and waiting for her. She's not my responsibility anymore, Florence, I said, the finality ringing in my own ears. Goodbye. And I blocked her number too. Dealing with the practical fallout now, I arranged to have all of Beatrice's belongings shipped to her parents' house via a delivery service. There was no way in hell I was having another confrontation with her, or any member of her delusional family, in person. And the honeymoon. That 2-week, all-inclusive luxury trip to the Maldives. The $18,000 chunk of the total $60,000+ loss. It's completely non-refundable. I called the travel agency, explained the unusual circumstances. Apparently I can change the name of the second guest on the booking, or I can take the full value as travel credit to be used within a year. Thinking about that trip, about Beatrice's betrayal, about the money, God, I feel like I've aged a decade in this past week. But also, lighter. Definitely, definitively, dodged that bullet. And maybe, just maybe, there's a way to salvage something from this wreckage after all. Okay, Reddit, it's been a month now since D-Day. Dodged a bullet day. And things, well, they got predictably messy for a bit, then settled into a new, deeply annoying kind of rhythm. The rumor mill, naturally, started churning with a vengeance, obviously fueled by Beatrice and her ever-loyal, if completely misguided, sister Florence. Suddenly, I started hearing these whispers, these insinuations, that I was somehow the bad guy in all of this. Apparently, according to their revised version of history, I was controlling. I put too much pressure on poor, fragile Beatrice. Some versions even had me secretly calling off the wedding myself, but then framing her to make myself look like the sympathetic victim. The text message? Oh, that was taken out of context, or she was coerced into sending it, or it was sent under duress. Seriously. Some people actually bought this load of absolute SHT, mostly her distant relatives and friends who weren't close enough to the situation to know any better, or who just wanted to believe the narrative that painted Beatrice in a better light. I even lost a few Facebook friends over it. Oh well, no great loss, I figure. I didn't fight it publicly. What was the point? I just calmly and firmly told anyone who asked me directly the unvarnished truth. She texted me, I reject you, 5 minutes before the wedding was supposed to start. She left to be with someone else. That plan spectacularly failed. These are the facts. I even showed the actual text message to a couple of key people, mutual friends who needed to hear it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Most people, thankfully, saw through her transparent BS. The story was just too insane, too specific, for her to successfully rewrite. Then came the demands. Oh, the glorious demands. Texts started arriving from new, unknown numbers. Clearly burner phones or newly acquired lines. Emails from anonymous accounts. Even a very formal, very diluted letter from her mother. They wanted compensation. Yes, you heard that right. Compensation. For Beatrice's wedding planning efforts. For the emotional labor she supposedly put into a wedding she had every intention of sabotaging. Money for the belongings she left at my place. Belongings that, I reiterate, I had already shipped back to her parents' house at my own expense. They even had the audacity to demand half the cash value of the wedding gifts, including the ones we had already returned or donated because, there was no wedding. Florence, in a particularly inspired moment of delusion, even suggested that I should pay for therapy for Beatrice's trauma from the whole ordeal. The ordeal. Beatrice herself had single-handedly orchestrated. The sheer, unadulterated, weapons-grade entitlement was breathtaking. They genuinely, truly, seemed to believe that I owed Beatrice comfort, and more importantly, cash, after she tried to ditch me at the altar in the most humiliating way possible. I consulted a lawyer, my friend Cedric, just to cover all my bases and make sure I wasn't missing something in their galaxy-brained logic. He pretty much laughed out loud when I showed him the letter from Beatrice's mom. He confirmed, unequivocally, that Beatrice had zero legal standing for any of her claims. None. Zilch. Nada. So he drafted one single, formal, very polite, but incredibly firm email, which he sent back on my behalf to every address and number they'd used. It essentially said, Mr. Alistair considers this matter closed. Ms. Beatrice unilaterally terminated the relationship and all wedding plans. Consequently, no funds or compensation are owed by Mr. Alistair to Ms. Beatrice or her family. Any further demands of this nature will be treated as harassment and dealt with accordingly. Then I blocked all the new numbers and email addresses. The silence that followed was golden. Now, for the satisfying part. The revenge, if you can even call it that. Because for me, it wasn't about actively trying to hurt her. Not really. It was about reclaiming something she had so callously thrown away, and about refusing to let her spectacularly bad decision cost me everything. The honeymoon. That $18,000, non-refundable, all-inclusive trip to the Maldives. Beatrice had been obsessed with it. She talked about it constantly for months, picked out the specific overwater bungalow with the private infinity pool, planned our itinerary down to the minute. The travel agent had confirmed, no cash back, but I could change the name of the second guest or take the full 18 grand value as credit for future travel, as long as it was used within a year. Just letting $18,000 evaporate into thin air felt wrong. It felt like admitting defeat. Wasting it completely felt like letting her win somehow, like her betrayal had successfully poisoned that too. So I called Hugh, my best man, my rock through all of this. Dude, I said, what are you doing next week? He was understandably confused. I quickly explained the situation, the non-refundable trip, the open second spot. His response? Holy crap. Alistair. Yes. Abso-freaking-lutely yes. And so, we went. 2 weeks ago, Hugh and I. We flew first class. It was part of the original package. We stayed in that exact overwater bungalow Beatrice had so meticulously picked out. We went diving in those crystal-clear turquoise waters. We drank fancy cocktails with little umbrellas in them. We soaked up the sun. We didn't wallow. We didn't even talk about Beatrice much after the first day. Once I'd gotten the initial residual weirdness out of my system. We just enjoyed a ridiculously luxurious, once-in-a-lifetime trip that was originally meant for a very different life, a very different companion. The day before we were due to fly home, I posted exactly one photo on my private Instagram account. Just me and Hugh, grinning like idiots, holding up colorful cocktails, with that stunning, impossibly blue Maldivian water stretching out behind us. The caption was simple, understated, making the best of an unexpected situation. Paradise found. I didn't tag anyone, didn't mention weddings or bullets or runaway brides, but I knew. I just knew that somehow, some way, Beatrice or Florence or her mom would see it eventually. And they did. Oh, indeed they did. Turns out, a mutual acquaintance, one of those people who tries to stay friends with everyone in a breakup, presumably took a screenshot and sent it straight to Florence. Maybe they thought they were keeping her informed, or maybe they were just deliberately stirring the pot. Whatever the reason, the predictable drama ensued almost immediately. I heard through a very reliable source, someone who got an earful from Florence, that she went absolutely ballistic when she saw that photo. And Beatrice? Apparently Beatrice cried for hours. Not tears of remorse for what she'd done to me, mind you. Oh no. These were tears of pure, frustrated entitlement. How dare I enjoy the honeymoon she was supposed to have? The one she voluntarily, spectacularly forfeited? Yeah. How dare I? Hey all, time for the final chapter on this whole unbelievable saga. It's been about 4 months now since the wedding that wasn't, and I'm happy to report the dust has well and truly settled. The demands for money, the accusations, the attempts to rewrite history, they all stopped completely after my lawyer's polite but firm email. I guess the stark reality that they had precisely zero legal standing finally managed to penetrate their dense wall of entitlement. The smear campaign, trying to paint me as the villain, that fizzled out too. Turns out, when your narrative is riddled with holes and contradictions, and the other person simply sticks to the cold, hard, verifiable facts, the text message, the timing, the other guy, your story doesn't have much staying power, truth has a funny way of doing that. So, what happened to Beatrice, you ask? I've heard it all through the grapevine, mostly via mutual friends, since, who've kept me loosely updated, I think primarily out of sympathy for what I went through, and maybe a touch of schadenfreude at her expense. After Rupert, her knight in shining armor on a rented horse, dumped her so unceremoniously at that gas station, and after she finally realized that I wasn't going to be her safety net, her doormat, or her ATM, she ended up staying with her sister Florence for a while. Apparently, that was an unmitigated disaster. From what I gather, Beatrice expected Florence to basically step into my shoes, becoming her new emotional and, more importantly, financial support system. She reportedly didn't even bother looking for work, complained incessantly about how unfair her life was, and treated Florence's place like a 5-star hotel where she was the perpetually aggrieved guest of honor. That little arrangement lasted all of about 2 months before Florence, sisterly love evidently having its limits, finally kicked her out. Turns out, even family gets tired of supporting someone who torpedoed her own life through sheer, breathtaking selfishness, and then refuses to take any responsibility for the wreckage. Beatrice, I've heard, ended up having to move back in with her parents. She apparently found some low-level admin job eventually, but is constantly complaining about being broke, about how miserable her life is, and naturally, about how I somehow ruined everything for her. The victim narrative is still going strong in her head, it seems. Zero accountability, zero remorse. Just a deep, simmering bitterness that her grand escape plan failed so spectacularly and that she's actually facing the consequences of her actions. Rupert, the catalyst for all this, is long gone. Wants absolutely nothing to do with her. Can't say I blame him on that front. As for me, I'm doing good. Really good, actually. The initial weeks, they were rough. No lie. I felt like a fool. I was heartbroken, angry, confused, a whole cocktail of ugly emotions. But that dodged a bullet party, as profoundly weird and awkward as it was in the moment, it really did set the tone for moving forward. My friends and family, they rallied around me like champions. And going on that Maldives honeymoon trip with Hugh, best decision I could have possibly made. It wasn't just a vacation. It was a clean break. It was a way to reclaim something positive, something beautiful, from the smoldering wreckage of what Beatrice had done. Financially, I took a significant hit. That $60,000 plus for the wedding and the honeymoon, that's gone forever. It stings, no doubt. But at the end of the day, It's just money. What I gained back in return, my self-respect, my peace of mind, my freedom from someone who so clearly never valued me or our relationship, that's priceless. Looking back, 60 grand feels like a relatively small price to pay for that kind of liberation. The revenge, if you want to call it that, the Maldives trip photo, it wasn't about actively trying to inflict pain or destruction. It was about demonstration. It was about demonstrating, quietly but unequivocally, that my life went on, and in fact, even improved without her in it. It was about demonstrating that the luxury and stability she took so completely for granted, the life she so arrogantly threw away, were things that I provided, and things that I could still enjoy, on my own terms. That single Instagram post, that image of me and Hugh living it up in paradise, it was the perfect, quiet embodiment of that. It wasn't an attack. It was a statement of survival, of resilience, of moving forward with joy. Seeing her entitled rage crash against the unyielding wall of her own self-inflicted consequences, that was the real justice. She didn't just lose a fiancé that day. She lost the comfortable, secure future she had arrogantly assumed was hers by right, and her carefully planned escape route, it turned out to be a dead end, built on a foundation of lies and a worthless guy. That empty, bitter feeling she has now? She built that, all by herself. I've been focusing on my work, which is actually doing better than ever. Hitting the gym regularly again, feeling stronger, both physically and mentally. Reconnecting with friends I'd neglected during the all-consuming wedding planning phase. I've even started dating again. Casually. Recently. Nothing serious yet, but it feels good to be open to new possibilities, to meet new people without the shadow of deceit hanging over everything. My apartment feels like my space again. Hers, of course, not mine. It's peaceful. Beatrice wanted out. She got out, in the most dramatic, damaging way possible, primarily for herself. She rejected me, and in doing so, she rejected the future she thought she had so cleverly secured. Now she's living with the fallout. That's the consequence. That's the justice. And honestly, 4 months down the line, that's pretty damn satisfying. Thanks for letting me vent and process all of this here, Reddit. You guys were a huge help in those first dark, confusing days. It's time to properly close this chapter now. Peace out.